Hello, hello. Hopefully someone's there. Okay, so we're gonna get into the goody goodies of the neighbor video. I said I would do this. I am just dragging on sleep this week. So a whole new routine in my life, whole new schedule. So, um, yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was no, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of I told you so's, but one of them was obviously the trash truck, which I've said from the beginning. I did not believe that the flashlight video was the trash truck. Um, the other thing was that something that is a routine that I talk about is, if people would just stop being so silent, maybe we would actually be able to fit more of these puzzle pieces together. And that's what happened here. And I'm glad that Miss Bobby felt comfortable to come forward. Obviously, in this situation, I could see why anybody would be hesitant to come forward. Hello, Dolores. I'm glad you made it. Um, so I'm going to go through my notes here. I thought it was very fascinating that she mentioned that the neighbor who was the original person to post regarding Sebastian, being missing and what was going on was actually deleted. And I'm curious if, that person was asked to delete it or what happened there. We found out that at least as of 8:30 in the morning on the 26th, that Chris had not yet been cited by the neighbors as being there amongst all the hubbub. That the main group that morning was Seth, Katie, Kathy, and the police. Kathy being Chris's stepmom. I did not hear mention of Melissa as far as that morning group went, which is interesting considering what I talked about in my last live. The leaked footage on the corner of Stafford and Kellen, it's not that it was surprising because, again, I never believed that it was a trash truck, but it was really good to hear it from the neighbor that she pieced it together that, and went back and asked questions. I appreciate that she was just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that we found out, about the Uber, and that the Uber that came was, at a different location, and it was picking someone up to take them to the airport. It would not have a need to hover at that corner, at the end of that street, to pick somebody up. That the trash trucks came through at a different time. That the time the flashlights were seen, it was pitch dark out. And that they saw, the car hovering there, and that they, saw the flashlights go and come. And you've seen this, I'm sure, in many videos where I say, well, to me, it looked like they were going and then it went away. That's it, And so I'm super curious, like, what you guys think, though, about what actually transpired. Because if they were to have put Sebastian in Katie's vehicle inside the garage, then the idling vehicle wouldn't make sense. That it was kind of related, unless it was like disposing of something else. But one of the thoughts that I've had that I've kind of thrown out there in the past before was like, was he lured out of the home under false pretenses, under the thought of, you're going to go do this, or this could be really fun. Like maybe you're going to go on a camping trip, or you're going to go with grandma, or you're going to go do this. And you were, let out of the house on false pretenses, but you made sure that they didn't tell you where he was going. So when you say, I don't know where he is, I don't know why he walked out the door. Well, if he walked out the door because he was going to maybe get in the vehicle of somebody he knew under false pretenses, then maybe you're not lying. Are you lying? If if the other people on the receiving end don't tell you where they're taking them, then you can say, I don't know where he is. But you might feel some guilty knowledge because you knew you led him out the door under false pretenses. It's a thought. It really hasn't been my predominant theory, but it is a possibility if 2 flashlights went and only 1 flashlight came back. Which, Dolores, that's the most popular lying technique there is the omission, which is, in my opinion, what Jen Soto did in Madeline Soto's case. When she would get the script wrong, or she would try to, the script was built around omissions. And that's just a tactic that people use so much in everyday life is just leaving the parts out and overemphasizing the parts that don't matter, such as colossal popcorns and things of that nature, and being so willing to talk about what happened early, in the early part of Sunday. And you have all of this descriptive detail about everything you possibly did. But then when it comes to the main events and everything that happened once you came home from your outing that day, silence, nothing. There was no sense from the dogs to the car. There was no sense from the house. But well, we learned that when a different neighbor was back from taking their kids to school, Katie was already back from looking, which I don't overthink that, only because if you had called the police, regardless, I'm sure would go back to the house to meet them. But about 6:15 to 6:20 was when she was seen leaving the neighborhood, going over by the high school. Well, these are great questions for Jules because even if he was wearing someone else's clothing and shoes, though, I feel like we still put something off of our skin. And she might have answered this, and my short-term memory is terrible. And then we learned that the school buses come between 6:45 and 6:50. So she was definitely back from searching by 7. And, this neighbor, Miss Bobby, was like, why did you go to the school? He's never walked to the school before. What would his reasoning be to go to the school? And if I recall, and I could be wrong, it's not like she got out at the school and ran around the whole high school to see if he could have been anywhere around the building. I thought it was kind of like a pulled in, wasn't there very long, turned around, came back home. And that's weird to me, because if you think he might have walked to the school, I would think you would get out. Schools have multiple doors. You would run up to all the different doors. Could he be, fell asleep outside of a doorway? Could he be on, the football field, the track, whatever, they have there? That was interesting to me. It was disturbing to me that they did not attend the private, small neighborhood vigil for their child. And that, they sent the aunt and uncle, who I assume is probably Melissa and her husband. And I think that was just bizarre. And, to say that early on, oh, they've got plenty of support. It's just bizarre. Well, right. And if you're going to go to the high school, you would think like, okay, was he like just trying to walk to school, like to go to school? Like you think he would go then prepared to go to school. It was odd. It's not odd to me that she would look at locations near the home, but to not get out of your car and run around is odd to me. The dog jumping in the pond, which we've heard a lot from the beginning, was that, the dog, but hearing now that this neighbor's son saw the dog go in the pond and that the law enforcement handler indicated that the dog had never done that before, tells me he had a scent that went in the pond. And Seth had said, well, the pond was drained twice. Could he have been put in the pond and then taken out of the pond at a different time? Oh, absolutely. And I think she was very brave for coming forward and speaking, because it just was clear to me that she thought things aren't adding up. I just want answers. I'm not trying to be like a movie star here. We just want to know what's going on, and we don't understand why everything is being the way it is. Hi, Island. Hi, Janine. Hi, Karen. So they were talking about the trash going to Nashville and Gallatin, and that the second dog hit by a construction dumpster that was dumped on Tuesday in Kentucky. The regular house trash. So this pieces together that they were not searching the Kentucky landfill looking for the trash from Katie's house. They were searching the landfill because the dog hit on the dumpster at the construction site, and that's where that trash went. So if that's totally possible, Dolores, and if they were only looking for a physical person and not maybe belongings that might have been thrown in the water, that is something. And that the construction company gave permission for the trash, or the trash people, the construction people, whoever, gave permission for law enforcement to search. So that kind of means maybe they didn't need a big search warrant like we had thought, because it sounds like they were given permission. It was reiterated that there has never been any physical proof that he came home on Sunday. And nobody, I don't know why, but I believe he did, personally. And I do believe whatever happened was at night. I know that there are a lot of people that think he didn't come home. The trash was pulled out when it was super dark. They could only see a silhouette. That's it. So they could not in any way say who took the trash out. From what the dog trainer said, she would use his shoes for a scent and not clothing because others would have the scent on it too. Well, and Jules got her articles from law enforcement, not from the parents. Ginger Girl, hi. Yes, it is interesting that they followed a scent that aligned with the flashlight trail rather than a boy walking out the door, walking down his street, over to Kellen, up Kellen, leaving the neighborhood. And you're right, Liz. Depending on the scope of what they wanted to do, they still might have wanted a search warrant because, yeah, it would absolutely secure the evidence, wouldn't be thrown out. Excellent point, Liz. Pebbles, well, law enforcement won't confirm that. And we're going to go there in a second. Let's see. So the unidentified car that was sitting on Callan Lane facing the subdivision entrance around 3:30 in the morning. The flashlights, I'm calling them flashlights, two separate lights in between yards is what was seen. Two small lights in between 2 yards moving. It was not the trash trucks. The trash trucks came at a later time, but still really early in the morning, but a later time. The car ended up backing up and leaving. But in the middle of the night, the car turned onto Stafford, backed up on Kellen, and leaves. As the sun rises, you then see later when the trash truck comes, just when the sun is rising. The neighbor, Miss Bobby, didn't know why the police were calling it a trash truck. Nobody in the neighborhood understands why it's being called a trash truck when they all know it was not a trash truck. Why, the neighbor mentioned questioning law enforcement directly as to why they told Seth it was a trash truck. Well, and Nick had the original footage to work with. And a lot of other people that have shown the footage, it's then not, it just gets, in my opinion, more degraded as you save it and save it and save it. And this footage was not meant to be released ever, but it was. And it was not released by the homeowner of that camera. So we did learn that the neighbors there, some that have been there for many, many years, they did know each other. Most people, maybe engage with their direct neighbors, but that over time, 10, 15 years, ownerships changed and, it wasn't a super involved community. But nobody really recalls, seeing any of them often. No one recalls seeing Faith. Maybe Sebastian playing with the dogs a couple times. They didn't really know them. The bag rinsed in the pond, thrown in the dumpster. Yes, and things could have happened after, the first massive search. Things could have happened between 10 and 11:30 at night, and then more things happened several hours later, and a whole lot of different things could have happened in the window overnight. The neighbor shared that Seth was at the command center every day in the beginning. Chris and Katie were not. We know Seth was at the command center because, frankly, they said that he was becoming a little too much and wanting to know too much about everything that they saw on their screen. And they were just like, it's too much. But nonetheless, he was there. The only one post by Katie, the one brief post that the morning of, is the only post she ever made in her own neighborhood group. That is so bizarre to me. If I had access to my neighborhood group, I would be posting every single day. So, Pebbles, are you talking about Seth driving around? Um, what the neighbor said is she never saw any any of the parents, and not even extended family, physically on the ground searching in the neighborhood. Could Seth have been out driving around? And I believe Seth maybe he was in the command center a lot, which makes sense. You have this tremendous law enforcement presence. They probably were trying to keep, and he probably didn't want to sit in Katie and Chris's house with them. So the command center was probably like the closest he probably could have been. But I do remember a lot, especially in February and March, of Seth actively overseeing the searches. And most of you probably remember this. They were meeting up at what was it called? The Rudder, a lot of organization, oversight, and that kind of stuff. So, but as far as within the neighborhood, none of the parents were ever seen actively on the ground searching. Yeah, I heard that they did, both Chris and Seth said, I believe it might have been the night of, that they were in the truck and they went somewhere and looked a few places together. And that, it didn't end up, but it was like kind of awkward because everybody wanted to know, like, well, what did you think, Seth? How was his behavior? And he didn't really offer a whole lot of it. And I, as far as like on the ground searching, as far as the neighbors' knowledge of that, I don't think, first of all, Katie and Chris have admitted that they haven't physically been searching the area. And I believe that Seth was involved in searches from the very beginning, and I don't believe his involvement tapered off until May, to be honest. And unfortunately, that's I believe it was around May 13th, is maybe May 3rd or 13th was when Tony got involved. What a coincidence. The encounter that the neighbor, her son, and the son's either girlfriend or female friend that they had with Chris was so odd and bizarre that the son had observed, first of all, somebody walking with a dim flashlight in the back of the woods from his deck. Then he sees some weird people walking on the street. So then, instead of just letting law enforcement know, they didn't want to bother law enforcement. They wanted to make sure it wasn't like a neighbor first before, telling on them. And basically Chris stop right in front of their vehicle. And it was just bizarre. And this was when it was a tall, skinny guy and what he believed to be a short woman And the guy was wearing like ski goggles, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, pitch black. And he was like, Mom, what do I do? And they went and they drove around there. And he was like really rude. What are you doing here? What are you doing on this side? And they're like, hey, we're your neighbors. Well, then he, like, that wasn't weird enough. He targets the young girl and says, aren't you so-and-so? Uses first and last name. This girl does not know how he knows her first and last name. Criticizes her for running the local Facebook group regarding Sebastian, and basically said he was going to go talk to her parents. It was just intimidation tactics, and it was weird, and it was creepy. I have not heard of Chris doing any interviews lately, but he should have faith with him right now. So I don't know that he would risk that. I think you're right, Island, about the lights. It is very disturbing to think about the, custody situation being part of this. But we know it was, and it had to be on some level, because he just said he did not want Sebastian around Faith. And, if you're married to someone, how else does that change? How do you avoid that? And another neighbor who is a good friend with this Miss Bobby, Katie told her that she was in the kitchen. Then she went and she was studying in the living room. She fell asleep. She woke up around 11:30. Sebastian was awake. She heard the thump. He said he was okay. She asked if he was okay. He acknowledged that he was okay. They, said goodnight to each other. So the timing of that was different. And she said, the neighbor said, once TBI got involved after about a week, it was entirely silent on the behalf of law enforcement, which aligns with what I was saying, I think it was a couple weeks ago, that I believe Sumner County has very little to do with this investigation. I believe it was given to TBI, that they are the heads of it, and that Sumner County is not really as involved as people think they are. And I think that TBI knows things they're not even sharing with Sumner County. I was very fascinating to learn that there's 3 separate law enforcement persons living in the neighborhood. One of them that works for Hendersonville Police Department. The 2 others, she didn't mention where they work, but it sounded like not those. Nina didn't let it, this is what I don't know, Vivian, if you saw me discuss my fears based on what I learned about the actions and behaviors of the judge involved in that custody case. And my brain almost can't even process that, because it's so upsetting to me. And when I see her saying good morning and good night, it's supposed to be the summer. When I hear good night and good mornings, and she's fighting it, she's still fighting it, but you don't get a choice. They take your kid no matter what. Pebbles, I think we looked at this, and my brain is a little foggy. I feel like we did look into that Operation Protection Tomorrow. Well, I think that he should have calmed down when they said, we're the neighbors. We are your neighbors. We saw somebody walking, we were trying, when they explained who they were, that they live a block over, this is why they're on this public road. I think that should have put him at ease, and he should have calmed down. But the way he went to the younger girl was just weird and kind of odd. And she was asked, do you think law enforcement came to a conclusion? And is that why law enforcement doesn't seem to be responding to information that is being given to them, certain tips, things like that? And, part of me thinks either one, things are being swept under the rug, or B, they have a very clear belief on what happened, and they already know when someone calls something in if it would be relevant or not. I guess that's just my thoughts. My understanding, she mentioned that the work van is coming and going, so that Katie's probably back at work. I don't know if Faith is at the house with Katie or if she's at the RV. I don't know how that would even work. Like because what would she do all day, or if there's childcare, I don't know. I don't think he was accusing her of posting anything. I just think that he didn't maybe like that she had created a group, about it, and it was only for like the neighborhood. It wasn't meant to be outside of, like all the other bigger Sebastian groups. And, maybe he just didn't want anybody to have the group. Something that was, interesting in one of the videos from Jen Koffendorfer was, that law enforcement owns the case. Law enforcement, and this is in relation to all the cease and desists. Law enforcement owns the case. So, you can't really tell people that they can't talk about the case. Now, there was a video I was watching, and a few people keep saying that, these people were getting the cease and desist because they were calling Sebastian the P word. No, it is because, what was alleged was that Seth was being called the P word in relation to his relationship with Katie when they were younger, but that never came out of the mouth of Chloe. And, so that doesn't explain why, the volunteers got that, I'm terrified for Faith. I'm terrified for Faith because it doesn't even matter. I think I said this a couple days ago. It doesn't even matter if something nefarious happened to Sebastian. This environment is not healthy for any child the way it was. CPS showing up at your house is not normal. It's not typical. More than once, it's not typical at all. So, let's just talk about Mr. Tony really quick. So, my understanding is that the Harris family fired him or terminated their relationship with him. And I'm sure Nina is going out of her mind, physically probably sick. she probably is barely sleeping. I know I'd be just struggling. So the Harris family has cut ties with Tony. So what did Tony do? Tony went and took over the Caleb Harris TikTok page that the family had posted on that had over 10,000 followers. And took it over and changed it to his own personal one, keeping the followers, and deleted the family post regarding Caleb. It's extremely upsetting that he would do that. And, you know, I see this practice amongst others tied to him, where they start these missing groups for one person, and then they change the name to the next missing person that they want to build up on. And it bothers me. Some of them create new groups, which I suppose is the more appropriate way, you know, unless someone was located. It is upsetting. It is very, very upsetting that he would do that. I am also hoping that nothing happens with the GoFundMe funds for the GoFundMe that Tony created for Caleb. The benefactor was supposed to be Randy Harris, and I certainly hope, as of right now on GoFundMe, it still says it was organized by Tony and the benefactor was Randall Harris. I certainly hope that he ensures that he gets all of those funds. The page I watched had a lot of other things that were going on in the video, and some of them I believe to be misstatements. So I'm not going to stream it because, well, one, there's a lot of profanity, and two, there was some, I don't know if maybe they just weren't aware of some of the things that are now known as facts. And so I just don't want to be putting out misinformation just because I'm trying to show you other information. He is no longer. So, you know, what happens there? You know, now he has inherited 10,000 people that were there for the purpose of locating Caleb. And now, you know, what he's going to do is what he's going to do. And if that, you know, he's building up the Sebastian's Army TikTok page. If he gets fired and he built that account himself, if he opened the account, you know, might not be anything legally wrong with what he did, just maybe crappy. I certainly hope the funds, because I have not talked about his background, because I don't like to get in these pissing matches over everybody's background. The stream I was watching, she actually did touch on a few of the financial things that were in Tony's background and all the people that have sued him, and one of them being a church. And so I do worry that the $25,000 in the one GoFundMe that Tony organized won't end up with the Harris family, but I think that they would take him to court over that if there was an issue. It seems like they really did not want to be tied to these people, especially with the latest creator that was brought in and her background being full of battery and domestic violence and restraining orders. And, you know, while she's doing that during the day, at night, she's out there, you know, pretending to be the most genuine, missing person advocate in the world. No, it's not right, Liz. And, you're not talking about like business or marketing or things like that. You're talking about somebody's missing child and you're hijacking that. It's derailed all those people. That's 10,000 people who are relying on that page to receive communications about Caleb. And a lot of the younger crowd is on TikTok, less on Facebook, and he was a college student. So, that might have been a lot of the people that went to college with him and associates of him, and that might have been their main point of getting information was through that TikTok page because the family posted on that TikTok page. So if that was their main source to get information to college classmates, and things like that, it's upsetting. It is upsetting. Yeah, absolutely. CPS has failed. And the court system, CPS and the court system has failed Faith, failed Sebastian, failed Summer Wells, failed Harmony Montgomery, failed Elijah Vu. I could just go on and name children that CPS failed, that the court system failed, that parents failed, that adults that observed things failed. It's terrible. It's terrible, the amount of failures that happened in the lives of all of these children. And we're just not talking about, all these people failed and we left a kid in a house and, they had to watch their drunk parent or their addicted parent, and they were neglected and these things. We're talking about children losing their lives, and accountability up the chain is not happening. And as much as this case has been sensationalized, I hope when it does come to a conclusion and Sebastian is found, that the whole truth and nothing but the truth comes out about everybody's involvement, and all of the failings that occurred from beginning to end, even throughout the process. I want to know everybody that failed, even after he went missing, all the people that failed to take the appropriate steps that they were required to by the scope of their job or by the law, because these things happen and there's no accountability, and a judge should be held accountable when they force a parent to either be sent to jail or turn over their children to somebody they know is going to harm their child or have them in an unsafe environment or an unhealthy environment, but yet they don't have repercussions. It's not right. No one should be above accountability, not judges, not police officers, FBI agents, not parents, not counselors, therapists. I mean, CPS, it's horrible. And if I always believe that if we know X amount, you can probably at least times that by 3. And that's, we only get probably a third, if we're lucky, of the truth in these situations. So I have to believe that there's 60 to 70% of more stuff out there that we don't even know about yet. And in Sebastian's case, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head involved in his life that did not fail him. And is that judgmental? It might be. But as a parent, we should be our worst judges. We should be our worst critics. We as most really good parents don't believe that they're ever doing enough. They always they wake up every day feeling like they're falling short of being a good parent. I know I do. All the time, I think about how I did not do enough today for somebody. And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and just say, you know what, I made a mistake. I failed here. This is how I failed. But this is the time where you can rise up for him. Despite failing him ever before, everybody that knows him could stand up for him now. They could speak the truth. They could talk more to law enforcement. They could search more for him. They could be maybe putting 30-second videos out every single day saying, Sebastian, honey, if you see this, I love you. I'm sorry for anything I ever did, but I love you. We are waiting for you. Call 911, come home. We're here for you. No, it's not happening. All the people that failed him are supposed to, despite their mistakes, step up. So many of us say, even if you had great parents, you're like, I want to be a little bit better than my parents were for my kids. And you want that to build up over the years. That should be the same case with this. Even if you made mistakes before, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying to do better for him now. And instead of, you have potentially, Katie seems, to potentially be very traumatized on some level. Okay. Not totally well. And so, do you throw another kid in the mix? Why would you even if there was nothing that bad that ever happened in their house? Like, why that would happen when, the focus should be on one thing? Like, I don't know, what do? Go to water parks all summer and try to have, go camping and live your life when, Sebastian's missing? Only good parents judge themselves harshly. So true, Dolores. So true. Yeah, I think nobody shouting from the rooftops is just, they might as well be standing on the rooftops with red flags in their hands. Because I mean, it's just, it truly has to be a situation where you're doing absolutely nothing because you really don't care, or you're doing absolutely nothing because you did something wrong. I don't know how else to see it. That's my opinion. But we're this far out. We're in the middle of June. And everybody has been going on their merry way, like, from the beginning. It's just not a normal, it's not a normal reaction. It's not healthy. Yeah, I can't imagine how you could even work so hard. Anybody that's ever went to court for custody issues knows how just terrible it is. It's just so unpleasant. And how do you even have the fight in you? You don't have the fight in you to find your son, to be out there fighting for him every day, but you have the fight in you to go be a witness and testify to get your stepdaughter. Who knows what they're telling Faith, because Faith was probably, told the truth, and maybe they're trying to change what she was told, which could be confusing. Kids are so smart, and they pick up on all of our emotions, even if we don't think they do. They do. Like I said from the beginning, I wish we would have just had a GoFundMe for, more attorneys for her, so this didn't happen. Because until we know what really happened, this shouldn't be happening to Faith with, it just shouldn't be happening. So overall, was the neighbor thing a big bombshell for me? Not entirely, but it was like validation that I'm not crazy for the things I thought. Probably her opportunity to feel validated. Like, she's been watching everybody speculate when she was like, hey, I asked these questions in the beginning. I was thinking exactly what you were thinking, and I followed up, and these are the answers. And I think she was completely, yes, Rocco, I think she was completely brave for coming forward. And I hope it encourages more people to talk, but in a similar way. I felt like she was trying to be respectful of Katie and Chris. I thought she was trying to be respectful of the privacy of the other neighbors. And I think she was honest about things she did not know the answer to. And I hope this would encourage other people that were in Sebastian's world that might have some information to come forward. And if not, to come forward and talk to a news person or a creator, but, to TBI if they know something. Because I think too many people have been just overwhelmed or intimidated to talk. And the more we support the people that do feel brave to come forward in a responsible way, the more I think people will follow. But they have to be handled with care. You have to be respectful of them, not push, not try to put them in a bad situation where they can't go back and live their life. So that's what I hope, is that this leads to more people coming and talking. I don't think any of us, that have been with me believed story number 1, 2, 3, or 4. None of us believed all those stories. And the neighbor talking helped validate some things that we really felt strongly about. And it gave us some more of the puzzle pieces. But there's still a whole lot of more puzzle pieces that we need to fill in. And the only way we can do that is if more people feel comfortable to talk. Oh, Karen, God, it's got to be pure torment. How could you? Um, um, all right, let me see here. Because this is the second person that has brought it up, so now I gotta look it up. Operation Protecting Tomorrow to identify and locate children who were victims of trafficking and exploitation. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. I am aware of the numerous arrests that have been coming down with regards to that. I personally don't believe that Sebastian was, um, that a sale was made there. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that, it's hard when you have seen some of the people that are good that have been involved and they, um, the way they're just shred or the way creators just make content out of no content. And that can involve trashing really good people. So no, I haven't looked all over the internet to see if people are saying horrible things about her, but I'm sure somebody's going to, which is why it just takes more and more courage to get people coming forward. So I wish people would be responsible and just let somebody come forward, let them speak on what they know, and then you can let the listeners discern for themselves what they make of it. Everybody comes out of something with a little bit of a different take. I've seen on here some believe Nina, some didn't believe Nina. Um, you know, I will only attest to my own opinion and feeling, and you're going to have yours. But not treating these people respectfully, all it does is it puts us more and more in the dark, and we can't figure anything out. And I think that there's plenty of people that still need to go forward to TBI that haven't, and um, I hope they do. Um, so Tennessee overall is becoming an upsetting state for me, with the amount of people going missing, um, becoming what I think might be a hub for sales and things like that. It's really weird and bothersome. Sorry, Karen. Sorry. Um, yeah, I mean, and what are you gonna do? But all I can do is just like I did the other day, is just say that, look, I lost subscribers the other day, and I don't even have that many. I lost subscribers the other day when I said, look, if you want to believe blatant lies, this is not the place for you. And I say that again and again. And I will stand up for Jules and her canine because I know what is fact, and I know it's not. And I know that the majority of the things that are said about her are horribly false. I will stand up for Chloe, and I will stand up for Trevor, and I will respect you guys if you have a different opinion. But I don't want those people attacked, because they're in VSAR, because they're the last hope at this point, the last hope. So I'm not going to attack people who do things out of the goodness of their heart, who aren't taking money, who aren't taking notoriety, or who have to expose their own trauma to the world in order to, shed light on things, which is what I believe Nina did. It's not like Nina went on a publicity tour. She didn't. She did a recording of her personal situation, just to make sure that people could maybe have some context, uh, into what could have been going on in their house. Um, Anita, all I can do is pray that, like I do all the time, that they have way more than we know, and that this isn't being swept under the rug. I pray that they're doing something we don't know about because we're not supposed to know. And then at some point, it's just going to explode, and we're just going to hear, like, this is what happened, and the answers will just come out. I hope. That's all I can do is hope. It is, yeah. And sometimes, especially in chat, like, you don't feel people's tones, when we're talking. And, some people, like, and I do it myself sometimes. Like, sometimes I can text a whole book, and then sometimes I'll be really brief. And I might sound snarky, but I'm not trying to be snarky. I just might be like trying to get what I'm trying to say out really quick because I'm maybe doing something else. And a lot of times, that stuff can get misconstrued. Um, but I can't tell anybody what to believe. I can only believe what I believe, and I can say that my opinions have wavered in certain things. As more information or actual little bits of facts, because we don't have a whole lot of facts here to work with, come out, and a little bit of common sense. But I also can't control the content that other people are putting out, and I can't control the things that they say about good people, despite how it enrages me. So all I can do is just remind everybody where I stand. And if that means that people don't watch because that's a problem for them, then I can't do anything about that. Of course, I want you here. I enjoy engaging with each and every one of you, and all of your opinions are welcome, and we don't always agree. But I think we overall are just a really respectful place and community. But I just can't let people be torn down. It's just, you know, it's hurtful on a whole lot of levels. That's what I can say. Um, and the summertime right now is the best time to, be able to have a physical presence of Sebastian's face out and about in the public, um, at because people are outdoors more than ever. You have tourists coming in more than ever. So it should be all hands on deck sharing his face, like, across the country and throughout Tennessee. Um, and just because, like I said, for anybody that maybe in any way, shape, or form connected to Sebastian right now, even if you made a mistake in the past, you can step forward and do right by Sebastian now. And what Sebastian needs is people who are all in for him, and that will be relentless in their search for him and the search for the truth, and that will be supportive of people that are coming in and want to help. um, Building up, not tearing down. Ginger, it was like the first time that occurred to me. Other people had always said it and it didn't occur to me. It feels like it could be. um, That's interesting that you say that, Mike, because Melissa Proudfoot, 2 days after Sebastian went missing, said exactly that she believed that he went into a neighbor's backseat, fell asleep, and was driven to a neighbor's work, woke up at an unknown place, this neighbor's job, got out of the vehicle, and was then lost. Which it's just frankly like the craziest thing that you're saying, something that I was just talking about Melissa Proudfoot saying 2 days after Sebastian went missing. So that is like absolutely bizarre that you said that. That being said, in my opinion, if he did stow himself away or something, I would like to think that camera footage at a different business might have picked him up, or he might have asked a human being for help. Um, I, I, I don't know. You just kind of have me mind blown that you just mentioned that here after I brought up a post that Melissa Proudfoot made February, I think 27th or 28th. And yeah, you just got me mind blown right now. um, just tell me you don't live in the neighborhood and that you're not Melissa, and we're good. um, that is just crazy. I mean, it didn't seem realistic to me when I read it. I was pretty suspicious of I mean, right now for someone to suggest it as a possibility is not bizarre. For Melissa to have thought it was a possibility and the detail she put into it 2 days or a day and a half after he went missing was really bizarre to me. But this right here is bizarre. Well, good. You're from Ireland and your name is really Mike. Good to know. Okay. It's not Melissa. So, I don't know because I don't really know, if people parked a lot in their driveway or if it was a garage parking kind of neighborhood. Um, and um, I just don't know because the law enforcement presence was there, fast and early. Um, so, I don't know if he would have, if that would have been able to happen, and get around from the police. Yeah, I just, and even if he did do anything like that, I don't believe he'd do it without shoes. And if he was running away somewhere for a long period of time, I just don't believe he wouldn't take his phone and his switch and snacks. He had a sweet tooth. I think he would have took um, snacks. Um, I mean, the reality is we don't really know their flashlights. But I have been saying for months, and this was before they were zooming in and editing and doing all these things to see other things in those videos. I just never bought the story that it was a trash truck. I said, I don't care if that is what they told Seth. Um, Frankly, I don't care if that's what law enforcement actually believes it is. I don't believe it. Don't have any involvement in the actual investigation, so my opinion doesn't matter. But that has been my opinion. Um, so the neighbor, in my opinion, it was helpful in feeling that I wasn't crazy. The thoughts I was having, were in like I said, validated. We got some good new nuggets. I still have questions, but I think those would need to come from, um, ooh, sorry, coworkers, maybe, or other neighbors at other locations. And I'm hoping we get lucky and we get somebody like that who's willing to talk in a safe space. Um, I don't know if you saw the video of the neighbor, but the neighbor said that the person who owns the house, whose camera footage it was, said the trash trucks came at sunrise, you know, um, and kind of walked through like the timing of the bus and, when the buses come, when the trash truck came, um, you know, when the Uber would have came, where the Uber was going for the person that was going to the airport, that type of stuff. But again, we all are going to take out of them, what what we think. I just my opinion. Um, but in the meantime, um, I feel like we're going to see, we might see more of Chris and Katie because they have faith. We might see them more locally showing up, and people are going to be following them all over the place. Um, I don't really know what the arrangements are, if she really is back to work, if Chris is still working, how they're doing, what they're doing, or you know who knows. I certainly hope that people are mindful that if faith is there, to remember your wits about you when you're um, doing the things you're doing, because you shouldn't be yelling and screaming, or you know chasing after people in your car, taking pictures and video, or trying to run people off the road, or acting like a lunatic. Be aware that there is a small child that could be with them in the vehicle, could be with them at the campground, could be with them at their house. So, you know, to think about that, and think about her safety, um, because, I think there are people, if they start seeing their presence around, they're going to just start going back to the neighborhood again. So I think something we did learn is, the neighbors there do want, their lives back, and they don't want 20,000 people submerged in their neighborhood. So I don't think everybody should go and stalk them. If you're going to search, there's, reach out to VSAR, and see how you can become involved. There's a right way and there's a wrong way, but please know that there might be a small child with them. And so when you're trying to just get that awesome picture, or try to maybe get them pushed to say something snarky, someone might react even worse because they have a child with them. So we need to be cognizant of that. Um, Well, it was Sumner County, I believe, that said that about the trash truck. I don't know that TBI said that, because my understanding from what she said is once TBI got involved, TBI wasn't saying anything. They were not giving any information. End of discussion. So, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of all I got for you guys. I have to go pick up the kiddos. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and insights. You guys are all awesome. We'll definitely be continuing this. But this is kind of all I got. I'm still trying to get, some more daytime stuff in for you guys, so everybody's not always up so late. So in the meantime, I appreciate you guys. If you like what you saw, like, subscribe, visit again, whatever makes you happy. I appreciate all of you, and you take care.